My name is Jimmy Purdy, shop owner, master tech, transmission builder, and the host of the Gearbox Podcast. Here I talk with new and seasoned shop owners, as well as industry professionals about day-to-day operations within their own shops and all the failures and successes that come along the way. From what grinds your gears to having to shift gears in the automotive industry, this is the Gearbox Podcast.
See your name in the top right corner of my screen.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm fancier than I thought I was.
Well, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for coming in and hanging out.
Okay. Did you get my bio?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got quite a thing there.
Yeah, I've been doing it a while. I'm recently retired and still making adjustments because my retirement's nothing like I dreamed it was.
You think that's uncommon?
Yeah, mine's uncommon because I hit it really lucky because I didn't make enough to retire on selling the shop, but I did make enough to retire on selling the real estate. And because I only owned the real estate for 7 years and bought it for $850,000, and 7 years later I sold it for $2.3 million.
Oh, you made it like a bandit.
Yeah, I did. So I'm living my pre-retirement lifestyle in my retirement. I haven't had to cut back on anything. Matter of fact, I've made some home improvements, invested into a couple of annuities, and yeah, I'm set.
Yeah, and you're still, but you're still active in the industry.
Yes, yeah, I'm still active in the industry because it was my identity. I mean, I had a real hard time the first year because I didn't have to go to work every day anymore, and my activity level really went down, and I gained a bunch of weight. I've been fully retired for 3 years, and in 3 years I've managed to gain 70 pounds.
It happens just like that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just activity level went down, and it just well,
it's supposed to be exciting.
Well, it is, and I still try to stay active in the industry, and that's really the part I like.
Yeah, it's got to be kind of maddening a little bit. I mean, after that long of being in the industry and being active and running a shop, and then going to kind of, in a sense, going to nothing. I mean, that's got to be a huge shift.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, anyway, today what I wanted to do was talk about writing accurate estimates.
I like it. Well, let's walk through your introduction then, because you got quite an intro here.
Okay.
So, you want to take the reins?
I'll let you.
Yeah. So we got and forgive me if I mispronounce it, but is it Bloodworth?
Yes, that's correct.
So Larry Bloodworth. We got. You've been in the building industry since 1973.
Yes.
Since 1985, you got your ASE Master Tech certification.
Yeah,
okay. Did you ever get the advanced, or you got your ASE Master Tech?
Yeah.
And have you kept it active through your retirement as well?
2 of them have expired. 6 of them are still good till 26.
Are you going to look at renewing them, or are you going to keep them?
No, I don't see any. Yeah, I don't see any point in keeping them going in my retirement. I'll just let them go.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you also went through the ATRA, which is the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association. You got the certification for rebuilding and diagnosing. What was that about the same time you got your Master Tech?
No, I did that much earlier.
Okay.
Excuse me, I did the Master Tech much earlier, and I didn't do the ATR certifications till in the 90s.
Okay. So you've had your you're definitely a veteran when it comes to that stuff, to say the least. So the majority of your life, you've transmission specialty shop, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And then you had gotten to that a little bit. You just sold your business and the real estate and fully retired, but you still keep your involvement in the industry.
Yes, I do.
Okay, but you're here today to talk to us about profitability and writing accurate estimates.
Yes.
So we're gonna get some learning in today, and I don't think there's enough information. No matter how many other podcasts you listen to or what education you get, you can always freshen up how you write an estimate, because without money coming in the door, it don't matter what else you're doing. No matter how good you can fix a vehicle, if you can't write up an accurate estimate, you don't have a. You got to have money. You got to have people coming in the door, and you got to be making money. Otherwise, it's all for nothing.
Yeah, I feel the majority of the industry underbids their work, and that's a problem. I know I did for many years until I hired a business coach, and he pointed it out to me. Because it was a lot different back then. When I got started in the business, the flat rate system, we could beat it by 50% back in the day. And 350s and 400s were getting bid out in the book, 13, 14 hours to R&R and build. And what I've seen over the years is as they come out with newer and newer transmissions, the times have gone down, and it's really challenging now. And if you look at the title of the book per se, it says Parts and Labor Guide, and it's not the Bible. And I took it as the Bible early in my career, and so one of the big things I learned over the years is on the invoice, the more you write, the more you make. And I would have a paragraph for each labor operation detailing what it was. And but I wouldn't list the hours or number of hours or how much an hour. I just had a lump sum. In the background, I would be calculating hours and how much an hour, but on the invoice, I would just list what the labor cost was. And as I retired and I had to hire more people to do repairs around the house and stuff like that, I find out that that's how electricians and plumbers and window guys, they do the same thing. They don't say how much an hour or anything like that. Like we were looking at having our patio door replaced, and they just come in with a lump sum of $10,000 and didn't even say how much labor, how much parts, how many hours, how much an hour, none of that. And
right. A lot of it's if they tell you a time, it's just so that you know when it's going to be done, right?
Yeah.
So if they're doing a water heater replacement, we'll be there between 8 and 10. It should be done between 2 and 4, right?
Yeah.
But it's still, no one's held them accountable to that. If something happens and they got, who knows what the unknowns they run across is going to be. That's just part of the job, and it is normal. It's a normalized part of any other skilled trade where you come to an auto shop and it's, hey, I want my transmission replaced. Oh, well, it book's out for 8 hours. Okay, so I can drop it off in the morning. I'll be able to pick it up at the end of the day. Like, no. Like, well, that's 8 hours. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And it's not normal. It's not normalized to say, hey, I need an extra 2 hours. 2 hours for what? I need my car back. Like, well, you're more than welcome to pick it up at any time, but you can drive it away if you want to wait for me to call you. you know? So, you're right. Yeah.
In a recent Ratchet and Wrench shop survey, they found that 64% of all shops bill out over $130 an hour. And the flat rate system in of itself has been used and abused, and it hadn't been abused more than by anybody else more than the new car dealerships. And I worked for about a year at a GM dealership, and man, it was a struggle. because it just, you couldn't beat the time. It just, uh, it was hard to get in 40 hours during a work week. It really was.
The flat rate system is a different breed. It takes a different breed of person, and it either works really well or everyone hates it.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to what, like you said, getting the accurate estimate and making sure that you're trying to account for everything. And obviously specializing in a field. So with you being a transmission specialty shop is what I started out as. I've slowly evolved over the last few years to really bring in more, front end work and suspension work and, normal engine mechanical maintenance work. I just see the turning of the tides when it comes to these newer transmissions, and it's just very difficult to stay on the leading edge with that. With a turbo 350, 400, 700, even in the 4L60s, you could almost build them, put them on the shelf, and when something came in, you could just install the one you built last week. And there's just too many differences now. And like the 6Ls, you got to program them, you got to program the tech them, and you just to try to stock the parts it takes to keep that rebuilding process up. On the business side of it, it's a lot of logistics. And and I've talked before about having like something coming in and they think it's a slipping transmission and it's a misfire or some sort of engine problem that they've mistaken for a transmission problem. And so obviously making that shift and not sending that work out and capitalizing on that is what I've been directing towards,
Yeah. What I also learned over the years that as an average, this isn't a steadfast rule on every ticket, but as an average, you should bill out 1.25 times the actual time that gets spent on the job. And sometimes you'll go over that, sometimes you'll go under that, but as an average, 1.25 times.
So you mean like a labor buffer on top of your estimate?
Yeah, that's what you should end up when you get a report for, say, the end of the month. Mm-hmm. Or the longer the period of time, the more accurate the average is. But I wouldn't not average less than 1.25 times actual time per month. And
now, do you think that's average for any repair shop, or do you think that's more targeted towards like a specialty transmission shop?
Well, that's what we were doing.
Okay.
And we would also write canned jobs for estimates that are common or a repetitive repair, where we didn't have to go through all the, trouble of writing the estimate. We just had a canned estimate, and I would edit it from there. Like you mentioned the 4L60E, I had a canned estimate. But the total of the repair was like $6,000 because it had so many parts on it. And what I would do is just go down the parts list and edit the parts off. But all the parts were listed that I could possibly need, including hard parts. And I would just start deleting the lines that didn't apply to the job. And but our average RO for major transmission work was right at $3,500, and that's as of 2015.
Yeah. So you stuck to just transmit. You didn't do any sort of engine mechanical or maintenance work. Okay.
No, transmissions only, and we averaged about 25 tickets a week, and about 5 or 6 rebuilds a week. And, but it was, a general repair shop would be, they'll do 25 tickets a day, and they'll have a much lower ARO. But as far as our transmission shop was concerned, we had what we called an MARO, which is major average repair order, and it was $3,500. But
now on those tickets, what was like an average GP on it? Like, because when you talk about general repair versus the transmission, and the one issue, well, not an issue, but one of the things I've noticed over the years when we get real heavy into the transmission side of things is that number starts dropping when it comes to parts, and trying to keep like a 55 or 60% GP on parts. It's very difficult. I mean, when you talk about all the different parts in the trans, or if you're, you get behind, you start selling some reman units, that really starts dropping your parts down as far as what you're making on your parts. And that's one of the big issues that I've run into over the years is you look at the reports, you look at the numbers, and obviously the net is what's important. Are you making money? You're not making money. But then you look at your parts and you're like, oh, maybe I need to start, bumping my sales up on my parts. But I mean, when it comes to transmissions, I feel like it's a completely different world than the general auto repair. You can't, well, they don't correlate.
We tried to maintain a 60% gross profit margin, and I found over the years I had to start using a parts matrix markup. In other words, I would mark up the small price stuff a lot more than I would the big stuff.
Right.
Like we wouldn't mark up a torque converter for near as much as what we would mark up a master kit. And, but it would average 60% gross profit. We tried our best to maintain that.
So you maintain it even with the transmissions.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
yep.
A lot has changed in the last 8 years since I sold the shop. I mean, there's so many more transmissions that's come out, the 6, 7, 8, all the way up 10 speeds. And and what I'm seeing is a lot of people are buying the parts from the dealer because that's the only place you could get them.
That's true.
And it takes much more involvement, like you said, with reprogramming and, rewriting the Tecum and just on and on. And, it's really changed, I tell you. And the other thing that we did that was more from a marketing perspective is that we would use call tracking to know where that call came from. And that is a wonderful, wonderful tool. And, there's a saying that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And that gave us a way to manage our marketing, because I quickly learned the Yellow Pages is dead because it just didn't justify the amount of business we got off the Yellow Pages. Just wasn't enough. And the Yellow Pages went online, and that still didn't help. And so I cut out all Yellow Page advertising because I was using call tracking, and the investment wasn't worth the return.
Yeah, it's definitely and I've talked before about the Yellow Pages, how it was such a big marketing tool, and anything from like the 80s or 90s, that was like the first thing you did. You open a business, get in the phone book.
Yeah,
it's like
I know.
Funny how quickly that went away.
Yeah, I know shops that would time the opening of the shop with the publication of the Yellow Pages, and but it's just. I provided a link in my notes of just one day of call tracking in our shop. And let me see if I can get that here.
Yeah, it's amazing the small tools and the small tweaks it takes, and everyone. I've noticed with the seminars and going to different training events, everyone's always looking for that magic pill or that magic formula or that magic sauce, right? That makes you a bunch of money, and it's or makes you successful.
Yeah.
And it just seems like it's all these small tweaks that you make, or what they call finding the little golden nuggets and the things you can take away, because a lot of it won't work for your shop. A lot of it will, and most of it, to be honest, usually doesn't. It's like I can't take what this other shop's doing and mold it into my shop. It's like, well, then don't. just keep looking, and eventually you'll find something. You'll find something else. You'll find something else, and you keep putting it in. And then eventually you're different than what you started.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how that works.
Well, in the comments on the side, I posted the link to
okay.
the 1 day of call tracking. And
so when you go through here, this is I'm looking through it right now. So these are all keywords that have come through your Google tracking.
I learned what keywords to use, what medium to use, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's another big thing that's overlooked is staying up on your Google AdWords, because Google is just getting smarter and smarter every year, every day. And when it comes to marketing anyway, it's amazing how much is missed. And I mean, I do it. I miss it all the time too. It's like a month goes by and you're like, oh my God, I haven't looked at that. How many of us actually spend the time to sit in the office every day and like go through all these things that we're supposed to be going through? It's like, it's almost impossible, unless everything's going perfectly well in the shop and you can just sit in the office and go through your list of to-do stuff, and then some of it, you just got to sit down for a second and not do anything,
Well, that became my job. The last, I would say 3 years of my career, that I did exactly that. I sat in the office and tweaked our website, tweaked our search terms that I would bid on. Like I quickly learned the most popular search term was transmission repair. And working with it every day, I learned how the bidding process worked. And I would bid crazy amounts for transmission repair. And because of the what they call the second bid method, or the Dutch bid, I would only pay a penny more than what the second highest bidder bid on the search term. And I was bidding like crazy amounts, like $75 a click on transmission repair, but I never paid even near that. And I would only pay a penny more than what the second highest bidder would offer, and I'd get top position. And that was a big thing I learned by sitting in the office and, just concentrating on it and how it worked and trying to learn. And there's a lot to be said for that. I could actually control the business. We would get so slammed. I would actually turn Google AdWords off. I would pause it because we just had more work than what we could stand. And then as we started getting caught up, I would unpause the AdWords campaign and then start getting calls again. And because it was crazy. It's amazing how much control it gave you over your business.
Yeah, and the amount of actually work that you do in the office versus like being out on the floor and trying to get the work done, right? The old adage of like working in your business, or working on it, not in it, right?
Yeah.
And like learning that stuff is like such a critical point, and it kind of folds back into of the estimating process. And if you're not tracking this stuff, like how do you know if what you've bid or what you're estimating is correct, unless you're looking at the numbers on the back end, right? And it's like, how long should this job be taking? How long can I, what should I be charging? Is this even right? Are my techs slow, right? Or is the estimating process wrong? There's so many variables, and then of course you start dealing with the Rust Belt, and it's like, well, you just throw that labor guide out the window because it's got nothing to do with it. The job takes what it takes, but.
Yeah, labor guide is just a suggestion because I tried to hire only the best techs. And I had to have confidence in the amount of time they would spend on something. And I noticed if it was a new transmission that we were unfamiliar with, even though they're a good tech, they would take much longer than normal because over the course of time, that time would just slowly get reduced in the amount of time they actually spent because they get more proficient at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like just the nature of the beast. And I think in this day and age, there's so many different vehicles. It's so hard to look at a labor guide or look at a standard procedure or standard process because every day you're going to get something new in. And even if you're an expert or a specialty shop, there's still going to be something that comes to the door that you and your techs have never seen before. And you can't rush that.
Well, there's also the opposite, jobs that we have done before, but we absolutely hate it because it's just such a pain in the ass. And those jobs, I would write high estimates. If I didn't really want to do the job, I never said no. I would just shoot a super high estimate and let the customer say no. And that's that's pretty much we were high estimates on all the Europeans, and because the Europeans are a real pain in the butt, to us. They're not so much nowadays because like the ZF transmissions coming in more and more American vehicles, and it's that's becoming a common one. But back in the day, we would bid ZFs, way high, and because we didn't really want to do it to begin with, and if we did it, we got paid very well.
Yeah, if it's something out of your wheelhouse, something that you don't stock parts for, or whatever changes the procedure of it, right? It's like some of them, I mean, personal preference even. It doesn't have to necessarily even be a statistical thing. It's just like, I don't like working on those cars because I don't like them.
Yeah, that's the way it was with most Europeans. None of the techs liked them. I didn't like them because before we were able to reprogram uh, Europeans, we would have to end up running the vehicle to the dealer to get it reprogrammed, and that was a pain. And but now that's changing. That's more and more people are getting to where they could reprogram European units.
Yeah, and I mean, then every plastic component on them ends up breaking, and then you got to order all these special because no one has the stuff in stock. So
Yeah.
I mean, I've always just stayed away from the European stuff. I just say no to it. Like I'm not. We don't do that. We don't do those. So yeah. I mean, bidding it high and hoping it goes away, or just saying no to it. I'd rather just say no to it because then, in this day and age, I think the reviews is another problem too. I've had so much slack and had reviews put up about estimating too high, about not even completing the process, or completing the repair, but just that the estimate was too high. So you get a bad review because you quoted too much money. It's like and like you said, that was standard practice 10 years ago. Like if you didn't want to do the job, you just quoted it high and hoped it walked out the door. And I don't think anybody realizes that. Like, look, I estimated this price because I don't really want to do it, but I will if you can't find anybody else, right? That was like the thought process. But now you do that and you get a negative review or get someone badmouths you. Oh, he's just super expensive. It's like,
well,
so I'll just say no.
I never did have that happen because I'm old school. We wouldn't give an estimate without selling an RDI first. And an RDI is a remove, disassemble, and inspect because we wouldn't know what parts we were going to need till we opened it up.
That's true.
And I would sell the RDI first. Then once we got it apart and I wrote the estimate, if the customer approved it, we would just give them full credit for the RDI fee to where the RDI didn't cost anything. And but the estimate was still high.
Yeah, in the transmission field, in specific, that's the hardest thing. To do an RDI or a TDI, or to pull it out and then disassemble it to get a price, because everybody wants the price. Because you can go online and you can look up these prices of any online distributor of transmissions, right? Well, I can get it online for this much. So is it going to be more than this? I don't know. I've got to tear it apart. I got to see what's broken. Yeah. I can guess, but every time you guess, there's always something that pops up, and yeah, it's like, it's such a tough situation to have a vehicle dismantled on the shop and then the transmission completely torn down on the bench, and then say, hey, it's going to be X amount. And they say, oh no, I found someone to do it cheaper.
Well, they pay the RDI fee and they go to somebody cheaper, and that other shop should reduce their labor a corresponding amount because the RDI has already been done.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope so, but then that rolls into like the general auto repair where someone diagnoses a vehicle and they come into the shop and say, hey, I need an O2 sensor. Why do you need an O2 sensor? Well, because XYZ auto repair said I need an O2 sensor. Okay, well, you put the O2 sensor in, it still doesn't fix the code. Come to find out the wires chafed on the back of the head, right? Because they didn't, they didn't voltage drop the wire. They didn't diagnose it correctly. So it's just tough because the next shop is usually not going to take that off the top, and then it puts you in the situation of handing back the client a big box of parts. Here's all your stuff, hopefully everything's there. It's just a tough situation. So then you, like you said, you end up underquoting yourself and underbidding it just so you can get the job done. So you're not stuck in this weird situation of charging them to basically disassemble their vehicle. And then you look at the other side of it. Okay, from now on, I'll just bid this transmission rebuild at this cost because the last one needed this extra amount of parts. But now you're overquoting all your transmissions and you're losing all your jobs because your price is too high. So,
we didn't do a lot of Europeans in our area. We're in a suburb of Salt Lake City. Europeans, I got a list of registered vehicles in the state, and Europeans in the entire state of Utah was only 6% of the vehicle population, but we were in more of an affluent area, and in our area of Draper, Utah, it was 8%. So we didn't get a lot of calls on Europeans. I mean, we would get, it maybe be one, possibly two a month, maybe. I mean, there'd be months we wouldn't get any calls for European work.
Yeah. Depending, I mean, it comes in threes, Yeah. You don't see something for months and then all of a sudden 3 of them in a row walking through the door.
Yeah, but there's states like Florida and California and New York where the European vehicle population is quite high.
Yeah, that's true.
And when I first saw the numbers, I thought, man, that can't be. I see more Europeans on the road than 6%. And then what I finally determined over time is that if it was just a normal American vehicle, it was just traffic. But if it was a European vehicle, it was a head turner, and I took notice. And that's why it seemed like it was more European than the 6% in the state. But,
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, somebody goes by in a BMW or Audi or something, you take notice, but they go by in a Chevrolet truck or something, it's just traffic.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. I mean, that's probably why a lot of Euro shops do really well when they specialize in just the Europeans. Obviously, they probably have a fairly decent ARO and making money on it, but then it attracts the same vehicles. You see a shop with a bunch of those vehicles parked out front. We have a classic car division. I feel like I get more people noticing us having those cars out in the parking lot than anything else. You get a few hot rods and classic cars sitting out in the parking lot and people just show up just to look at them. It's a car show, So it definitely, there's definitely something to say about that.
Yeah. Well, what we tried to specialize in wasn't any particular brand of vehicle or anything. We tried to specialize in vehicles 10 years old and newer. And in our area, which, like I said before, is affluent, 10-year-old and newer cars were the majority of the population. And because they're worth fixing, people usually have the money. If they don't have the money, they got the credit. And getting paid for those jobs just didn't seem to be a problem. Not only that, because they were 10 years old or newer, the rusty bolts that break off were almost nil, and they were just easier jobs to work on because they were cleaner, and all of them were usually virgin vehicles they had never been into. You work on older vehicles, the transmission had been done months before, and it was a hack job, and holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pain.
Yeah, who knows who rebuilt it the first time? Because if it's a Chevy truck, it's done, and it's been through at least one if it's over 10 years old.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's
who
true.
knows what they put inside the trans? So you never know what you're going to find when you open it up.
Yeah. Well, the 6-speed GMs were just starting to come into our shop in 2015, and that's the year I sold the shop. And so we never did. We got a lot of CVTs, but we didn't get a lot of the 7 to 10 speed transmissions. It was mostly the 6-speed GM.
Yeah, that was probably about the time. That was about the time GM was on strike, and you couldn't get the pumps or the bell housings with one and the same. But that was about that time, right?
Yep, about that time, and the timing of my retirement, as it turned out, was a blessing because I'm a member of several Facebook groups that are transmission specialists, and I'm just reading horror story after horror story. Problems they have after overhaul. And I'm like, oh, brother, I'm glad I'm not in that mess.
Yeah, it is. And even moving into more of the remanufactured, business plan and just having those replaced instead of tearing down and rebuilding everyone that comes into the shop. I still get plenty come back, from reputable remanufacturing companies. It's just bad engineering, bad designing. There's just nothing you can do about it. And it's when you're dealing with these 6 speeds and GM goes on strike and you can't get the parts for them, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And right now with the 66 RFEs with Chrysler and the 68 RFEs, you can't buy them. The dealer's on national back order. All the parts are on back order. I got a friend that works at a local dealer here, a Dodge dealer in town, and he's got 2 or 3 of those trucks sitting in the lot with nothing they can do. We just have to wait. We just wait. Like, you're waiting. It's under warranty, so they can't sublet it out. Because I've started rebuilding those because you can't buy them, right? So I said, send them to me. I'll take care of them. No, can't, because it's under warranty. So it has to be through Chrysler, through Stellantis, and there's a national back order, so they can't get parts. It's like, what does the client do? What are you talking about? You took away his Dodge Ram 2500, 3500 diesel. It's not exactly a truck that can be, easily replaced. It's not like they just need to take the kids to school. It's like, this is their work truck, this is what they bought for a business. Is like, that's usually what those trucks are for. It's not for driving around town. It's usually for work. And it's like, you just took away their livelihood and said, sorry, I don't know what to do. We don't have those. Can't get them. Gotta wait. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But I got out of the industry when I sold our business, and we didn't have logistics problems. We didn't have supply problems, but I'm reading about it every day about people having, like you said, trucks, having them for months in their parking lot, trying to get parts. And, that wasn't so when I was in the industry.
Yeah, and it's not directed necessarily transmission only. Of course, general auto repairs. I mean, it's just everything. It's everything right now.
Everything, and it's taking longer to get stuff. I mean, have you read the news story about the Panama Canal drying up and ships get to where they can't pass through?
Right.
Yeah, that's a major headache. And now East Coast ships that would normally come on the West Coast are now getting diverted to the East Coast. And
then you got to put them on a trucker, and now they want to make electric semis, and it's like this is just a snowball of just problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't envy people in the industry today. I do not envy them, not one bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel there's always challenges, and when you talk about the auto industry, it affects everybody. There's not many other industries other than the medical field that really affects everybody, right? I mean, you could probably pull an argument to say any sort of blue collar work. Yeah, sure, everything that you eat, drink comes on a truck, but ultimately that truck is in the auto industry, right? So everything always reverts back to starting as the auto industry. And the challenges that we're faced, it's amazing how there isn't enough. I'm trying to find the right words for it, and I just don't have the words for it. It's amazing we don't get the respect. Like, we just don't get the respect we feel we all would deserve, and it pushes a lot of people out of the industry, right? It makes it not appealing, and then you stack all these issues that we were just talking about on top of that, and it's like, who would want to get into this industry, you know? But the sense of pride and accomplishment that you get at the other end of it is why you stay into it, why you do it. And then when you really look at this, does affect everybody, you know? And then it really goes back to like the beginning of our conversation about like making sure that you charge enough.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason, that's what it all comes down to, is money, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And because if you're underestimating jobs, that's the type of situation where you got plenty of work, but you're not making any money. And that's a hard way to be. And I think the key to it is writing accurate estimates and knowing what your costs are, and with knowing what your costs are, you can manage your profitability.
So what was your process when it comes to the estimating?
It would depend if we've done the job before. If it was a common job, like say the 4L60E, it was 1444 labor plus parts. And that was pretty much a constant because it was such a common transmission. Whereas if it wasn't a common transmission, I would just weigh everything. I would talk to the rebuilder to see how comfortable they are on it. And he and I would come up with a time. And we did all this behind the scenes, like I said earlier. We didn't do the calculations on the estimate. There would just be a lump sum of, like, say, 1444 labor, and but it wouldn't say how many hours or how much an hour, that type of thing.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's an important thing too, and I feel like that's a easy, not a cop out, but it's a way of explaining to the client, you know, oh well, it's going to be X amount because it takes this amount of time, and I'm on your side. I don't think that's the way to do it. I think this is what it costs. This is what the job is, right? Yeah. And there's a labor guide to get us in the ballpark, right? Yeah. And then that way you can monitor and see if your techs are being productive, and then incentivize them and pay them if they're going above and beyond what the industry standard is. But it's like, what is the standard, you know? Yeah. And then when it comes to like with your process of estimating, you got like trans cooler flush, right? You got to add that on. And sometimes that's not on the estimator. It takes time to hook up the flush machine, flush the cooler out. And now we're getting into programming. So now you have this extra time of programming. And whether you use a remote programmer or you use the J2534 pass-through and program it yourself in-house, there's so many other things that I don't think are accounted for, you know, and that goes into general repair too. You know, there's cleaning. There's, if the crank seal was leaking and it contaminated the timing belt, well, you need to clean all that stuff, you know. And there's no cleaning tab. There's not like a little thing on the motor guide or the Mitchell guide to say, oh, we have to clean. Here's a half hour, you know. But you also don't know that until you pop the timing cover off, you know. And same with the transmission. When you talk about valve bodies, like if that thing blew up and the planetaries came apart, you got to work that valve body a lot more than if it was just a standard overhaul.
Yeah.
And so you got 3 or 4 hours of pulling valves, and they're all stuck because there's metal everywhere. It's like, how do you build that into the job? And I mean, for me, I would just eat the time. Like, it's my time. I'd rather just get this thing done. I don't want to make the call and add another $500 on because I got to go through the valve body, because we don't want to be the guy that feels like we're ripping anybody off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Once we issued a quote, it was like written in stone. If there was anything else we found afterwards, we would just eat it.
Right.
And
Right.
we always stuck by our estimates.
Right.
And because the customer was courteous enough to let us do an RDI, and if after an RDI we miss something, then that's just on us, and we eat it.
Yeah. I feel like I was never, I guess, smart enough to do the RDI. I just tried to estimate everything as like a worst case scenario, and
Well,
I had too many times I'd get stuck in the middle of a teardown.
Yeah, that's what most people do, and it's how jobs get underbid. And when you underbid jobs, it makes your technicians look totally inefficient.
Yeah.
And when the real problem is writing the estimate.
Yeah. And in this case, I was the technician that was looking efficient. But I mean, that helps the situation too. I've never hired a builder. I've never had a builder working under me or for me. So all the time, with the transmission rebuilding, it was me doing the work. So it's an easy justification to just eat my own time. If I got to stay late, I got to stay late. That's what all business owners do, right? That's what auto shops owners. Yeah. We work till midnight and we burn the candle at both ends. And it's just like the stigma that you're like, oh, this is just normal. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. But over the years, I've realized that I was very wrong. It's not how it's supposed to be.
Well, what I did in the early years, I was a builder. And I did the building. I ran the front counter. I ran the office, and I managed the R&R technicians. And then I realized I made the most money when I was on the front counter. And over a few years, even that morphed into finally ending up in the back office and working on the marketing aspect of the business. But every time I would change career, so to speak, I would make more money. One of the best things I ever did was hire my first builder. And the first mistake you tend to make is you try to have them build like you build. And when that's a mistake, and let them build and, just turn them loose. And, it all worked out in the end, but I had a front counter person. I had rebuilders. I had R&R technicians. And I made the most money when I was in the back office managing all our marketing and advertising. That's when that was the maximum amount. And like I said, every move I made, I would make a little bit more. When I came off the bench and moved to the front counter, I made a little bit more. When I moved from the front counter to the back office, I made a little bit more. And I found the place where I was the most profitable for the business and not my own desires.
Yeah, just staying out of everybody's way.
Yeah.
In a sense.
The last builder I hired was out of Phoenix, and he answered an ad, and I ended up paying him $104,000 a year. And but he was a good builder, and he was very productive, and he did right. And that's another thing. If you underpay your help, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, it's a struggle. I think in the beginning, it's something that it's taken me a long time to not just realize, but to actually implement. And it's just look at the numbers and pay them accordingly. Yeah. And stop trying to hire technicians based the same way you look for a can of brake clean, right? In a sense of like, how much do I have to buy to get a discount on brake clean? So you want to negotiate the terms with your technicians. Hey, how much do you want? Well, I'll pay you this, right? And you like want to have this negotiation to try to save a couple bucks, when it's like in reality is like, no, pay them whatever they're asking. Yeah. And then set your expectations that, hey, I paid you what you're asking, so I need you to produce this, right? Yeah. It's a hard thing to do, though.
Yeah. Well, if you can't pay top wage because you're not charging top money, then that's a formula for disaster. If you're, like I said earlier, if you're underestimating your work, you can't afford to pay top wage.
Now, what do you say to the kind of naysayers that say, well, I can't charge anymore because I'll lose all my clients?
That's a myth, because
it is a myth.
the transmission business, the business model of transmission repair is much like the collision industry, to where it's what I call a one and done deal. They're virtually every customer is a first time customer, and it's a one time customer. I mean, if you get repeat business, it's either somebody with multiple vehicles and bad luck, or it's a warranty job.
That's very true. No, that's very true.
Yeah, repeat business is not a big thing in the transmission or the collision industry. I mean, it's just rare that it happens. And
that's a good point and a good correlation, because that's one of the things I've noticed as well is our customer retention is not, I guess, where it should be. Or, working with a coach and they have the industry standard numbers, and you're trying to, mitigate these numbers, and seeing the retention rate of some of the clients is, well, it's like, well, a lot of it, like you said, they're one and done. They're coming in, they're spending $6-7 to have their transmission replaced, and then you probably shouldn't see them for a couple of years. But adding the general auto repair aspect onto it, we want to start seeing them a little bit more. But it's a good point to bring up, because it makes it difficult for marketing. You're constantly on new customer acquisition, right?
Yes.
Yeah, constantly.
And the general repair industry is just the opposite. You're into customer retention, and it's not a one and done deal in general repair. It's more about forming relationships and doing multiple repairs over the lifetime of that customer.
Yeah, but even based on the transmission side, you still want a relationship with the client. You still want to make sure that you're on speaking terms when they leave, because you want them to spread the word, right, and tell their friends and family and refer and whatnot. But it's just different, because you don't get that immediate result for client retention. It's difficult, because it's something that you're not going to hear or see for years later until they tell a friend or a neighbor. And it's a catastrophic failure. Every time they come in, it's a catastrophic failure. It's not, hey, my brakes are making a little bit of a squeak. Can I get in next week? It's like, hey, I'm stuck on the side of the road. Can I bring it in right now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's either me or the other shop. Like, they're not going to wait to bring it to you. They're going to find somebody else that can do it right now.
Yeah. And that gets back to managing your advertising and marketing, to where when you do get so backed up, you have some control over that. It's not like the phone constantly ringing and you have no way to, trim the phone numbers back. And it just, like you said, Google Adwords is great. It's kind of the elephant in the room. And there's other ways to market your business, but that was our primary method.
Yeah, it's in the day and age of internet and everyone being on their phone and on the computer, you definitely want to be. You don't want to ignore that. You got to be on that, step one.
Yeah.
And then obviously have good reviews and everything else that comes along with it. Have a good website. But I just feel like with the advent of the AdWords, where it's come in the last 10 years, and there's so many companies out there now that are proving to put you on the top of Google and keep your Google AdWords relevant. And there's something to be said about taking that and doing it yourself.
Yeah.
you know, because you know what the vehicles you want in your shop, and sometimes the automation just doesn't work. And like say, taking it by the reins and like doing it yourself and going through those keywords and manipulating what's going on in there, there's something to say for that. I mean, if you're doing it right, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a little bit of a learning curve, I think.
Yeah. Because keywords that I did not bid on were like leaks, noises, and vibrations. Because they were always time consuming, small ticket repairs. And yeah, I would get the jobs that are use the keywords that are the most profitable. And
And when you're looking through the profitable ones, you're looking at the back end of the work. You're wanting the transmission repair, the transmission rebuild.
yeah,
That's the idea, right?
Yeah, I would. My plan was actually variations of transmission repair. It would be transmission repair alone, and then I would also use transmission repair with a brand of vehicle preceding it, like say Chevrolet transmission repair, Ford transmission repair, uh, Chrysler transmission repair, and things like that, but it would always be a variation of transmission repair.
Right. Just manipulate it to target the ones that you're actually looking for.
Yeah. And when I finally woke up about marketing, location played a big deal in it. We were lucky enough to be in a town to where we were the only transmission shop, and we were right on the freeway with a traffic count of 240,000 cars a day. And our front property line was 90 feet from I-15. And just the traffic count was incredible. And being the only game in town, so to speak, as far as transmission repair, that was also beneficial because people would have to drive into Salt Lake to, find a competitor. And we're in a suburb of Salt Lake, but we're on the outskirts. We're about 12 miles from Salt Lake.
Yeah, that helps too, because I'm sure a lot of the other local shops sent you all the work, and it's kind of back in the day and age of. And I've noticed too, obviously with companies LKQ, Jasper, ETE, all the different remanufacturing companies, it makes it very available for a general auto repair shop to do a transmission replacement, right?
Yeah, yes,
and so,
they do.
Yeah, and so like this division of, hey, I'm going to do transmissions and you stick to general auto repair, I feel like those days are coming. I mean, if they've not already come to an end. I mean, I still get a lot of, and I'm sure you did too, everyone in the general auto repair field will just send you anything transmission related.
Yes.
But I feel like now it's just they don't want to deal with it. Not because it logistically makes sense. They've tried a few things. It's not working. Oh, you know what? Maybe you need to go to a transmission shop. And it's like, they're just copping out of it. Like they just don't want to see the repair through. They don't want to see the process through. It's like, if you're a good shop, you can definitely diagnose a transmission code, right? If you can go through and do proper diagnostics, it doesn't matter if it's a transmission or an engine. It doesn't matter. Like if you're good with a lab scope and you understand all that stuff, you should be able to figure out exactly what it is. But I guess to my point is to base yourself only transmissions. I feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit, because there's plenty of just general autos that are replacing transmissions, and that's going to be a huge chunk of your work that you're not taking on. So why not do a few water pumps? Why not do a few, tune-ups and brake jobs? And before you know it, you're rebuilding front ends. And it's just the evolution that I've seen in the last, honestly, in the last 5 years. A lot of the shops in my area, like you walk in there and 9 out of 10 of them have transmissions sitting on their stands and they're installing them. So
yeah, well, that depends on the shop, because in our particular shop, we had a large building, but we had a small shop space. Our shop space was only 3,000 square foot, and we had 4 lifts. And even though it was a 5,500 square foot building, the working area in the shop was only 3,000 square feet. And so we didn't have the room tie up a lift with some general repair when we had a high dollar transmission job waiting. So we never, just in our particular situation, we never made that migration. If we would have had more room, we might have.
Right.
But we were getting flooded with transmission work because I was manipulating the Adwords program so well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I guess I just see it as you get a little slow, and then you see some of your quotes going to a neighboring shop, right? And then you realize, well, they're just undercutting your price to put a reman in it, and they're not looking at the numbers, so they don't realize they're only making 15% profit on this job. They just see a $6,000 ticket coming through their shop, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's great money." Like, that's not great money. You may, you know what I mean? Like, the percentages aren't there, but they just see a huge ticket. And as a general auto shop, like, oh, it's all about car count and it's all about getting your ARO up. So they see a transmission job and they're like, oh, let's take it. We can put that in and we can beat their price. And so they do that. And then now you're slow because all your work's going to a different, another shop, and it's not even a transmission shop. So like, well, you know what? Yeah, we'll do some breaks. And it just kind of evolves that way. I mean, for me, that's how it's evolved anyway.
Yeah. Well, what I did when it was slow, I mean, we normally did AdWords within a 5-mile radius of the shop. And when it got slow, I would expand that radius. And then we would, because of our location, we would start getting out-of-state calls. We would get calls out of Idaho, Wyoming, Nevada, and the furthest radius I ever had was 100 miles. And that's when it was slow, and it didn't stay slow very long, because once I expanded that, I started getting calls from everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that was another way to mitigate the slow times.
Yeah.
But it got to be, after a while, it got to be kind of fun to be able to have that much control over your business, because generally speaking, most shops don't have that ability. And
right. Yeah.
It's either feast or famine. I mean, that's the way I grew up in the business. And then to finally learn that I could kind of control that, that seemed like a godsend to me.
Yeah, you could say that. Well, if you can control the ebb and flow of a shop in the auto industry, it's definitely definitely a key component.
Yeah. Well, we could do a whole podcast on AdWords alone, and that's a deep, deep subject.
I could imagine. In my small workings of trying to figure that out, I could definitely agree with you on that one. Yeah, it's a tough one.
It takes a lot of time. I mean, if you're learning it on your own, it takes a lot of time. And when you hire a marketing company to handle that for you, they don't divulge the hows and whys of it. They just do it. And I kind of just learned the hard way. But that's about all I have to share for this podcast.
Yeah, it sounds good. And closing notes, the most important thing is charge what you're worth.
Yep, I agree.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Larry. I appreciate your time.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Jimmy. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course.